Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time with us, Dr. Weiner. Now, if you could just kind of tell everyone your relationship with the Courage Ride research.
Sure. Well, my day job is as a medical oncologist who takes care of cancer patients, and I also serve as director of the Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center, and I have an active cancer research lab. I've been involved with the Courage Ride since soon after it started as a rider, and then got more involved also as I saw the incredible work that we were able to do with the funding that came from the donations that came through the Courage Ride.
Yeah. I apologize. Do you mind if we start over, just because my microphone was being funky and it brings these alerts up on the screen that will mess up the recording?
Okay. I didn't know if that was mine or not.
No, you're doing great. Mine's
Okay.
being weird.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to have to do that again. You had a great answer. It was just things in the way.
I actually mumbled it a little, so.
Well, perfect. Let's do it again. All right. Dr. Weiner, thanks for joining us. Let's start with your connection with the Courage Ride and sarcoma cancer research.
Well, I'm an avid cyclist who does Ride Bri every year. And I first became involved with the Courage Ride as a rider soon after the Courage Ride started. I also am a cancer doctor and cancer researcher and serve as director of the Holden Comprehensive Cancer Center. So I've gotten to see the incredible value of the funds raised and how we've used them to pull together a sarcoma team that is one of the world's best at both taking care of patients and at doing research and developing treatments for future.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable to have with your experience and your profession to get into it through the cycling side of it. I guess let's just start with what do you like about it as a cyclist?
Well, it's a wonderful ride. It's through just spectacular countryside with rolling hills and horses and buggies and wonderful stops that have been set up, and a lot of wonderful people you get to ride with on the way. It's great that if I'm feeling energetic, I can go for a longer ride, or if it's a little hotter, I'll go for a shorter one. So there are different lengths for people with different skill sets and different abilities.
Yeah.
Great day, and very well run, and a lot of fun.
So then professionally, then you get to have both the experience of the ride and then see the benefit, which I think is illuminating people that may just participate in the ride and may have a heart for it, but then don't get to see the results of it. Could you illustrate what that's like for people? What are the results of the Courage Ride in the cause for sarcoma cancer research?
Well, one of the things we've been able to do using the funds from the Courage Ride is bring together a team of people with very different backgrounds, but a common desire to improve outcomes for people with sarcoma. So we're able to provide funding to bring people together, including basic scientists who are looking at the cause of sarcoma at the genetic level, through people looking to develop new treatments for sarcoma, all the way to people looking at how do we help people with sarcoma with the side effects of therapy with quality of life. And so we have PhDs in the laboratory, we have surgeons, we have medical oncologists, we have people interested in outcomes research, all working together towards the same goal. And the funds from the Courage Ride allowed that to happen.
Now, could you explain? I understand that in part the funds from the Courage Ride help with seed grants
Yes.
for research. Could you explain what seed grants are and how that works?
Sure. So the competition to get big grants from the government and the American Cancer Society and various associations is fierce. Only about 1 in 10 grants gets funded. So what we really need to do is get the teams together, help them get some preliminary data that helps convince reviewers that this is a good idea. And we call them seed grants or pilot grants. But they're amounts of money that are not to continue a research project for 10 years, but to get it started so it can be more competitive for larger grants that we bring in from the outside.
Yeah, that's fascinating because on the outside, it's not necessarily something you would think about. We have to kind of prove the viability in order to get the chance to
Yeah.
further prove it. It sounds like, and what sort of what sort of progress have you seen in the research?
Well, one of the things we've realized through the research is how incredibly different one sarcoma is from the other. So while it would have been wonderful to be able to come up with a cure that would be useful for everybody with sarcoma, they're so different that that's really not feasible. And so what we're really learning how to do now is dissect out the causes and the soft spots in each one of the different types of sarcoma where we can attack it with a new approach to therapy. And we're learning that it really is individualized, with different treatments being likely to be effective for individual patients.
Now, is that something that's seen in research across the board for cancer or particularly sarcoma?
We see it across the board for cancer, but particularly for sarcoma. There are so many different types of sarcoma, each of which behaves differently. And so it's particularly challenging for sarcoma because there are so many different kinds.
Yeah.
One of the ways we've used courage-ride funds as well is to develop a very robust sarcoma tissue bank, where when patients are having surgery, we store the sarcoma that's taken away and link it to how they're doing so that we can go back and say, well, what was it about this sarcoma that allowed that patient to do better? Or why was the sarcoma particularly hard to treat? And we can go back and look at the very nature of the sarcoma to figure that out.
Oh, fascinating. Because a lot of us on the outside have a very general understanding of what of research and how funds can help that, but like to probably what's commonplace for you, but to take an approach of both general research and this individual person who has this type of sarcoma, and then being able to come back around to it is really interesting.
Yep. So what happens sometimes is we won't have the hint about what to look for many years after that patient had surgery. Having that tissue frozen down in liquid nitrogen then allows us to go look for something we didn't even know existed a few years ago.
Wow. So what I think is really interesting is here's the courage ride that this year is virtual, but generally takes place, beginning around Iowa City. That the funds raised, the research is developed in and around Iowa City.
Mm-hmm. It is, and what it's allowed us to do is actually recruit world-class sarcoma researchers here. They've learned our reputation. And so what we've been able to do is bring and grow our program based on this nidus that developed from the Courage Ride support.
Wow. So if someone is maybe they've been participating in the virtual Courage Ride, they've been out riding so far, maybe they're planning on it in the next few days, what would you want to say to them about how it's more than a bike ride they're going on and the impact that they're having?
Well, I would tell them that, yes, it's a great bike ride, different this year than in other years, but the funds that are raised go to support incredible work right here in our community. And that benefits people from our community and beyond. That some of the discoveries we've made have translated into advances that have really spread around the world. So it allows us to strengthen the research we do here, to improve the quality of the care we provide here, and actually to support the economy of the region as well.
Yeah. So last question, have you done a ride yet for the Courage Ride, or are you going to the next couple of days?
I have not. I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah.
To do so.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Weiner, thanks so much for taking the time with us. This is really, really illuminating on some of the ins and outs of the research side of it. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And I do want to express my appreciation to all the volunteers who have worked for the Courage Ride for so many years. We really appreciate everything you do. And we promise to make the best use of it.